So that's one like father, like son moment for you. Eric Ten Hag and his son, Anthony. Now what's going on with those two?
Toast TV. I like it.
Gurus TV. The hero hears. We are back again. Now, last weekend we witnessed yet another upsetting performance from Manchester United. They lost again, yet again, to Brighton. Now, mind you, in the last 5 encounters between Brighton and Manchester United, Brighton have won 4 out of 5. And Eric Ten Hag has only beaten Brighton once and lost 4 against Brighton. Manchester United and Brighton have met 14 times in the Premier League so far. I mean, since the inception of the Premier League. And it's never ended in a draw. We thought we were closing up to a draw last Saturday, but Eric Ten Hag had different plans for us. Now, I understand I have some friends, some of my pundits, some of my guru friends, like Onassis, who strongly advocates or strongly debates that it wasn't Ten Hag's fault that United lost. But he did bring out Bruno Fernandes, who is by far, the best Manchester United player and captain. So if you're gonna bring such a talisman out, you better have better plans, better have really good plans to make up for his absence. But he took him out and he brought on outgoing Scott McTominay. I mean, that makes no sense whatsoever to me. But my friend Onassis says because Bruno was not performing to his expected standards, it justifies his removal from the side eventually. Let's say his substitution. But I don't really buy that, because big players, or let's say top players, are top players for a reason. Now, Ronaldo, Mohamed Salah, Lionel Messi, Erling Haaland, and a lot more, sometimes they don't have good days. But many a time, even when they're not having good days, you keep them on the field. There's a reason for that. The reason is, these players, football is about moments. And these players can conjure magic in one singular moment that can change the whole game, even when they've had terrible performances the whole game through. They can just get one kick of the ball that can change everything. So if you have a player like Bruno Fernandes, who admittedly probably didn't perform to his expected high standards, looking at the kind of bench United has or had at the time, it made no sense to me to bring out Bruno Fernandes, especially if you're going to replace him with a player who was Napoli bound. He is outgoing. His mind is not in United anymore. As I speak to you right now, he is a Napoli player. So what kind of coach will take out a player who is the captain of a team and replace him with a player who will not be in the team the following week? You see, it makes no football sense. But Mr. Eric Ten Hag, once again, my friends, came to the party and destroyed everything. Manchester United could have had a draw, but Mr. Ten Hag decided, no, I don't want a draw. I want a loss. Makes no sense to me. Just last season, Manchester United had a torrid time in their defense. Now, when you look at their defense, last season they conceded 58 goals and they scored only 57, ending the season with a negative goal difference of -1, right? Now, that evidently pointed out that the team needed some bolstering defensively. And as you can see, they have brought in many different kinds of defenders like Mazraoui, like De Ligt, to try to, let's say, augment their defensive prowess. But you have seen that this season, they have played 2 games and they've already conceded 2 goals. They've also scored 2 goals, making a goal difference of 0. Now, when a lot of people automatically presume that the primary causality of, let's say, a weakness of defensive ability is due to poor defensive, or let's say low quality defensive players. But that is not necessarily true. It might be true to some degree, but it's not the entire story. When you look at defense, like defensive mechanisms, right? The system of defense matters more than the individual components of the defense. When you take a team like Atletico Madrid, right? You see that they can play a defensive masterclass. But many of their defenders, if you took them out of the Atletico setup and you put them in Manchester United, they would equally struggle. The reason being that the problem is not really with the individual players, because this singular problem has been there with Rangnick, with Ole, with Ten Hag, right? You saw Rangnick end the season with 0 goal difference. Now Ten Hag is ending a season with -1, which is unprecedented for Manchester United, right? Now, is it that the players who are there, because when Rangnick was there was no Lisandro Martinez. Now there is Lisandro Martinez, who, like, I know a lot of people would say he was injured, and that's probably why they failed to do well defensively. I don't really subscribe to that, because I think the brilliance of a coach, the tactical sophistication of a coach, to devise impregnable defensive strategies that enabled his team to fend off attacks. Manchester United was conceding so many shots last season. So I think it's not really a problem of the defense or the individual players. I think it's a problem of the proper organization, which is the work of the coach. So I'll go back to Erik Ten Hag. I think last Friday's or last Saturday's defeat was, to a very large part, the coach's fault, right? But then when you look at the goal, when you look at Neto's goal, right, and you see the amount of space he had. I mean, footballers, right? Come on, you've been footballers all your life. You don't need someone to come in and tell you that that player needs to be marked. Even if the coach taught you something else, no, presumably, I'm just speaking in a hypothetical sense, you can use your own common sense to figure out that, okay, this is a player, he's an opponent, he is trying to hurt us, and they have the ball, so we try to cover the spaces. The entire 11 players of Manchester United were congregated in the same area of the field, allowing that guy with an easy header, uncontested. That's unacceptable. That is absolutely unacceptable. You have professionals. You can see this huge gap over there. They're just there staring. Just like my friend Jude would say,
these players are fools, bros.
these players are
Fools, eh?
I've always warned you the problem's the coach, haven't I? if you want to revisit your days of glory, then you need to kick Ten Hag right now, or else you kick him out instead. Liverpool is coming now. What will you do this Sunday? You need to kick Ten Hag now, or else you kick him out instead. Liverpool is coming now. What will you do this Sunday? You need to kick Ten Hag right now, or else you kick him out instead. Liverpool is coming now. What will you do this Sunday? Why? Why doesn't he want to talk to his fans? Is it that he doesn't speak English? I doubt that. Or he feels that he is going to be castigated by the fans. I think that's very, very inappropriate. You know, a player has to have that gravitation toward his fans. You know, you are who you are because of the fans. The fans, even though they wake up 6 o'clock in the morning, go to work that pay them very, very minimal, salary, they still make time and effort and pay money to come see you. And the least you can do is to go embrace them, talk to them, sign their jerseys for them. And you see the fans, and what you can do is to pretend you are on the phone. It's a disgrace, Fofana. You should be ashamed of yourself. It's a disgrace. Chelsea. Now they're scoring for fun. Chelsea is scoring for fun. I told you last week. If you've not watched that video, now you can watch it right here, right? I told you last season, Chelsea is the team to watch. I didn't have very high hopes for them, but after watching them last 2 weeks with Manchester City, even though they lost the game, the way they were able to make a statement with a team against a team as great as Manchester City against Pep Guardiola, I could tell that they had something in them, and we should expect something. And they proved me right. They went to Wolves and they won. Chelsea had never won at Wolves. They had never gone to Wolves to win since 2019. Mind you, they've won the Champions League in between this period, but they had never gone to Wolves to win. And they went there. My God, did you see that? An absolute battering, total beating. So that tells you this is a new revolution. This is a new era. It's not the Chelsea we used to. You need to kick Ten Hag right now, or else you kick him out instead. Liverpool is coming now. What will you do this Sunday? You need to kick Ten Hag now. Now, I know a lot of people would say I'm probably not a huge fanatic of Mr. Ten Hag. I think I am just someone who wants to analyze situations for what they are. Critical analysis. This man is a fantastic coach. He did brilliantly well at Ajax. But I feel like the demands of the Premier League are probably they far outweigh his current levels of sophistication. I say this because when you look at the Premier League, right, Erik ten Hag has conceded 6 times after the 90th minute. Now, this is a pattern. 6 times. Now, to put this in context, Manchester United had only conceded 2 times after the 90th minute between 1992 and 2022. That's 30 years. A 30-year period. They have conceded only twice after the 90th minute. Now, Mr. Ten Hag comes in 2022, and between 2022 and 2024, a period of 2 years, he has conceded 6 times, 3 times more than Alex Ferguson, or not even just Alex Ferguson, with other coaches like Moyes, like Mourinho, like Van Gaal, like Ole, all of them had done in a 30-year period. And he is breaking every single record that Manchester United had, unwanted record, I mean, that Manchester United did not dream of ever having, like ending the season with negative goal difference. So it's not a matter of anything personal. Manchester United is one of the biggest clubs in the world. They don't deserve what they're going through now. And I find it really, really and truly concerning that one person's role is capable of making so many people really despondent and sad. Because you should have seen my house, when the guy scored against Manchester United, at Brighton. Now, Enzo Maresca, I feel something Arteta-esque about him. There is this, glow, this halo about him that you see that this guy is up to something. And the way he's so brutally direct with his communication, especially regarding players that he deems unfit for his system, you know that this man knows exactly what he wants and what he's doing. And he has a good group of like-minded intellectuals or professionals who are aiding his ability to coach Chelsea to the promised land. Now, I'm not saying Chelsea is going to conjure any kind of miracle this season, but I strongly believe they're going to do far more than we originally expected of them, because especially looking at all the the sea of players, chaos going on, not many people have high hopes for Chelsea, but I think we might be up to see a miracle. Yes. Now on some signings, Liverpool, Mr. Arne Slot, they have finally signed a player, and his name, as you know, is drumroll. Federico Chiesa. Now, don't forget, this player was a fantastic prospect just about 3 or 4 years ago. He was one of the big names who helped Italy win the Euros at Wembley in 2020. But obviously, he had a very bad injury and has not been able to reclaim his original ability since that injury. And I believe that with Liverpool's assistance, he will probably be able to get back there. And won't Liverpool be a formidable force if they had, an informed Chiesa? My goodness. Salah, Chiesa, Diaz, Jota, Nunes, Gakpo. Woo! That is dangerous! Arsenal have also signed Mikel Merino. For some reason, it looks like this player, his most outstanding quality is sliding tackle. I've never heard that before. A player whose typical traits are sliding tackles. But yeah, Mikel Merino has joined Arsenal, and I believe he's a fantastic player. He probably will have to compete with very, very big names like Thomas Partey, who is currently playing extraordinary football We also have Rice, who's probably undroppable. Odegaard, definitely undroppable. The captain of the side. So depending on what kind of system Arteta wants to play, but it looks like he loves midfielders who have that kind of combative nature about them. Like you can see Rice, now he has Merino. It looks like Merino would be a like-for-like replacement for Rice in case of an injury or fatigue or anything of the sort. So yeah, it looks like Arsenal are building a team that can compete in any competition at the very highest level. But I still think the Arsenal would be much better off if they went in for a typical conventional clinical deadly finisher like Haaland. No, someone like Haaland. I know they're not going to get Haaland, but someone like Haaland. I know you're not going to get someone who is exactly like Haaland because, but, someone who had those kind of traits, who is ruthless, who is extremely goal hungry, a player like that would really augment their forces. I really would hope Arsenal are successful in their quest to be champions this season. But obviously, it's not going to be an easy fight because you're up against one of the greatest managers of all time, Pep Guardiola, and he has a team that's won the league 4 times in a row. That's really difficult to do. You need to kick Ten Hag right now, or else you kick you out instead. Liverpool is coming now. What will you do this Sunday? You need to kick 10. Finally! Manchester United have also made one finally reasonable signing in the person of Manuel Ugarte. Now, I like this signing, because it's for the right price, it's for the right position, it's for the right age. So when you really think about it, it makes sense holistically, right? Especially seeing as how a player like Casemiro is quite getting on. He's 32 now. He's definitely not, in his prime. So you would need someone who would be, in line to inherit the throne of Casemiro at Manchester United. In recent years, Manchester United have made many signings which make no reasonable sense. Many of them. And even if they made reasonable sense, not for the right price. For example, Mason Mount, who had 1 year left on his contract, was sold for £60 million. Now that is a signing. First of all, does not make sense because Manchester United do not need Mason Mount. That's the first thing. Second of all, it's for an absolutely ridiculous price. It's like going to the market and getting totally ripped off. That's what happened to Manchester United when they got Mason Mount. And this is another thing I put on the coach, Mr. Ten Hag. Because at the time Mason Mount was signed, he had the absolute autonomy to choose which player he wanted. And he went in for Mason Mount. What are you doing with Mason Mount? Especially when you have Bruno Fernandes. And at the same time, there was Maddison on the market at the time. That makes it even more laughable. Ludicrous. But Mr. Ten Hag did it. And I think this is one of the reasons that power has been taken away from him by the new administration. That autonomy to buy his players according to his own caprice. Because the choices he made in the market, many, most of them didn't make any sense. For example, Manchester United allowed a player like Valvergus to wear a Manchester United jersey. This is unforgivable, unpardonable. Over. A footballer who was signed to Burnley, who were playing the championship, who Burnley thought wasn't good enough to help them in the championship, and loaned him to Besiktas. You know that team, and I can never pronounce that name right. Besiktas, whichever one it is. Yeah? Manchester United, through the brilliance and intelligence of Mr. Ten Hag, thought it was a good idea to bring that player from Besiktas, a player that Burnley didn't want in a championship. Bring him from Besiktas to Manchester United because he's capable of helping Manchester United, even though he was not able to help Burnley. Does that make sense to you? No! This, amongst many other reasons, is why it makes me really happy that with the new administration, things are being done, at least, done properly now. Players are coming in for the right prices. Right? Now, they've got De Ligt, they got Mazraoui, and Ugarte. I think the three of them was about £150 million. Now, 2 years ago, that would have probably been for 2 players. But they got about 5 players for £150 million. You see, so Manchester United is growing, and they're doing things right now. And I'm sure it's gonna pay off. With Ugarte, now when you sign players of that kind of quality, a good defensive midfielder, now it means that Casemiro can rest in the last tough games. You see, and it makes him less prone to injuries. And at a time that you really need the experience and the strength, and the robustness of Casemiro, he will be present to play for you, and you wouldn't have to use injuries as an excuse why your team finished 8th, because you have a plethora of different qualities, or let's say very high quality players for different positions. My friend Onassis has said that he feels the current crop of Manchester United players are not, let's say, quality enough to compete at the very highest level. Now, let's think about the current players. The front players he meant. The front players like Højlund, like Xerxes, like Anthony, like Garnacho, like Rashford. Now, do you think these players are quality enough for a team, not just Manchester United? Suppose they were playing for any team. Do you think they're quality enough to compete for a title? Let me know in the comment section. Now, this is what I think. I think they are good players, but definitely you need at least one very clinical guy amongst them, one dangerous guy, and that was supposed to be Rashford. But for some reason, he's not really himself lately. He's not really been the same Rashford we're used to. So if you got someone in, which is why the Sterling move makes a lot of sense. Because if Sterling came in and brought his experience on board, then it would probably get everyone ticking. You need to kick Ten Hag right now, or else you kick him out instead. Liverpool is coming now. What will you do this Sunday? Now, what I think will really help Manchester United is 2 things. First of all, get a proven quality finisher who can help you score goals. Secondly, get a new coach. Yes, because you are going to continue to concede a lot of goals if you still have this manager in charge. Now, I know he is very charismatic and he is very well spoken. And if you leave him to talk, he's going to convince you that it's for some other reason that they're not getting the results. But I can assure you, whatever he says is not the case. The only reason that Manchester United is not getting results is the manager. I can assure you of that. If you change the manager, especially with this new administration in charge, definitely you would see huge positive shift in Manchester United. Let me know if you think my thinking is right. Thank you. Bye-bye. If you love our videos, please, please, please subscribe to our channel, and you will get a notification every time we upload a new video, and then you can follow and share and comment and enjoy our videos. Yeah, we make many different kinds of videos. I'm sure every football fan will enjoy watching our content. Thank you and stay blessed. Bye-bye. You need to kick Ten Hag right now, or else you kick it instead. Liverpool is coming now. What will you do? There's a